YouTube, we're playing with our sticks, not our balls today, and you know what that means. That means for this Meet Our Snakes video, we're going to feature Kali. Kali, or as Kurt likes to call her, Big Red, Kali is angry all the time. Oh, she got quiet. She started rattling again. We decided to do it today because we need to clean her cage, and she has a screw that's gotten loose. It's caused some interference door, so we need to fix that. We have to take her out to do so. So we have to do that anyway. That would be a good day to film her. Here's the thing on Kali. We're also going to feed Kali today. And she will be getting a live feed, but not on this video, so don't worry if you don't want to see that. However, if you do want to see that, YouTube is basically saying that I'm a really bad boy, and that we shouldn't show that kind of stuff, even if we do it educational and scientific. And YouTube went and they slapped my hand a bunch of times. I got in a big fight. I told them that they were all a bunch of jerk faces, and they said, ha ha ha, we're bigger than you, go piss up a rope. And so that's where that currently stands. But if you go check out our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Olympus Reptiles and look for our Feed Your Fiend videos, which for a $1 subscription you get all the Feed Your Fiend, and then of course there's more benefits as you go on up. You will get to see our girl Kali dispatch a rat. How cool is that? We would like to do it here. We would like to do it for free. We just can't. So that's why that is going that direction. A few things about her first. And Kurt, go ahead and show her color. Don't mind the mess, because that's why we're getting in there today. She is one of very few rattlesnakes this color. As far as we know, she is one of only 3 in captivity and has the best color of any of the 3. She was wild caught out of Oklahoma, in western Oklahoma. I will not disclose the exact spot. She came off private land, and they really don't want a lot of people up on their land. They only let a select number of people on there to look for snakes, and I've been lucky enough to be one. So, I always get accused when we show her of her being a ruber, you know, but she's not. She is a Crotalus atrox. She is not a Crotalus ruber. I can promise you that, and there are a few keys in the eye stripes and things of that nature that will let you know that. So, now we got all that out the way, why is she special? Well, as you guys know, we're looking at opening this zoo, right? And she is going to be one of the featured animals in the zoo when it gets open. So when the construction's done, she's been in here getting used to people, and believe it or not, this is a lot better than what she used to be. So she will go to the zoo. As long as she does well there, she'll get to stay. If she doesn't do well, I'll pull her back out and bring her back home and give her more seclusion. And then with that zoo, we have to apply for a USDA license. The USDA license will actually allow us to breed western diamondbacks. I've been asked a lot, are you breeding them? I always say no, because we're waiting on that license. Once we have that, we plan to start. And we're very, very curious if this red color is going to be genetic or not. I have 2 males that aren't as red. They're definitely not normal. That we will be breeding one of the males with her and one of the males with the female albino. So that's kind of our breeding plans to see what happens and see if we can prove it out. I think one of 2 things is going to show up. 1, it's going to be recessive traits that's swimming around, and that would be really cool. 2 is if it's not that, it's going to be something we can line breed to create this redness, so like a polygenic trait. I'm leaning more towards its genetic recessive gene. And the reason I'm leaning towards that is where this snake was caught. It wasn't like all the snakes were kind of red. They'd all been kind of passing this on and gotten, you know, more and more red to match their local environment. It wasn't like that at all. It was like normal rattlesnake, normal rattlesnake, normal rattlesnake, red rattlesnake. Really strange. So if they were all kind of looked the same and she just happened to be the reddest, then okay. But it's not like that. It was, you know, there was probably 45, 50 of that then. She was the only red one, which is why we brought her home. So, and when I say 45 or 50, not that day, but friends of mine had seen there over time. And when we went, I think we had like 7 or 8 out of that den network that day, and she was the only red one. Actually, take that back. My male was the only red one. This was caught by somebody else who gave it to us. Got confused on which one I grabbed out of the same den network. Okay, Kurt, before we open this up, do you have any questions?
Are there other morphs in the diamondback?
Yes, western diamondback, I always say it's kind of like the ball python of the venomous world. The reason I say that is because you've got hypermelanistic, you've got caramel albino, which is a T-positive albino, you have an albino, you have a hypomelanistic to go with the hypermelanistic, you'll get the hyper called black, you have pied, you have scaleless, and I'm sure I'm missing some other ones that are out there. And then of course there's combos people mix. Like we have a purple haze, which will feature one of these days, and it is a caramel albino black to make that purple haze. So there is definitely a lot of things that you can do with these, more so than in most venomous species. Most venomous species, you know, you may have 1 or 2 morphs, whereas And these, there's probably 7 or 8 or 10 established morphs, patternless. I forgot about that one. So there's a lot going on in western diamondbacks. That may not sound like a lot of morphs when you look at like how many there are in ball pythons, but you gotta remember everybody keeps ball pythons. So there's a big market to find these morphs and all of this. Not everybody keeps these things. As a matter of fact, it's a very limited number of people who keep venomous snakes. So the market doesn't push that hard to find new stuff. With that, and we don't have big, huge western diamondback farms, right, that are going out and just farming the eggs like they do in Africa to find new ball pythons. That doesn't exist for these guys, which couldn't farm the eggs anyway because they give live birth. So there's definitely a different type of market for it. And that being said, too, since we are a breeding channel, let's talk about the monetary portion of this of breeding. If I had a brand new ball python morph that was vastly different than anything that had been seen before, like this red western diamondback, think scaleless. Okay, think about those first scales we're going for and what they're still going for today. That'll kind of give you that ballpark for the ball pythons, for the new stuff. Think about bananas 15 years ago, all of those kind of things. These aren't going to be like that. Okay, these will not carry that same crazy monetary value because, again, supply and demand. The demand is so much lower for a rare western diamondback than it is for a rare ball python. Are we ready to do this thing?
Yes.
Okay, as always, we have our tools. We have a hook, we have a tongue. Obviously, camera guy Kurtzky, I got somebody else with me, and we have to open the cage because we do keep our cage locked at all times. Our room is closed. If you want to go ahead and show that we're actually closed in here. With instructions to the other person in the house, they know what's going on so that door doesn't get open to keep the cats and dogs out. So you always have to take every precaution. No kids in the house today. I know you hear us having kids over sometimes, which we do, but not today. So that's why we are able to do this. And again, she's there. This is the side that's jammed. I'll show you what's going on. One screw's a little loose and it's getting caught. That's what's giving us a problem. Which means I'm going to have to open from that side, her being there. We need to grab with a tool to do that, like so. And then we're just going to see if she'll hook good for me today, which is not very often. You ready? Let's try it. Whoa! Ooh, there she jumped out at me. That should make good film. We'll put her in the box. Okay, Kurt, you gotta watch out for a second, buddy, because you're kind of where I need to be. And you can see, here, I'll move it for you. She's actually probably getting ready to shed right now, or starting that cycle, because she's pretty dark. And she's probably going to have another go at me when I go to put this lid on. And I'm not pinning her hard right now. Again, we're going to slide this with our fingers out. And right there, I think she had a go at it. Woo! I hope that got on camera. And I hope it... She just tried to bite me again. I hope it looked really cool. I'm going to guess if Kurt caught that footage of her lashing out on me, it probably looked a lot more dangerous and a lot closer than it was. If you watch really close, I probably do jump a little bit, because let me tell you, when that bite end's coming at you, you're going to flinch a bit. If you don't, shit, you're crazier than me. But it wasn't close. I mean, look how long this hook is, okay? I had plenty of room. She probably could reach to here. I had that much room. Because of the camera angle, it's probably going to look like she was here. I'm telling you, there's a lot more room than it looked. All right, we're going to hit pause for just 1 second. We're going to get a weight on her so we can share that with you. Talk a little more about Kali, clean her cage, and show us putting her back in. And then we'll film that feed video for Patreon. So that's all finished. Snake escaped. We're going to have to go find it in the room now. I'm just kidding. It's still in the box. But here's what we've done. We went ahead and we did a full sand change. So it's got brand new sand in it. You know, we put the furniture back in, cleaned the water dish, brand new water dish, which somehow already has sand in it. Wiped down all the walls, cleaned the glass. You know, we told you how to hitch and a skiddy up. A lot more. So that's ready to go. Everything's working. So now all that's left to do is put the snake back in. And always make sure your tools are ready. There's my hook. So we got this snake in this tub here. We did take the opportunity to weigh her, and she chunked in at about 1,325 grams. which is really good considering that she's been in captivity now for almost 2 years. And when I first got her, I want to say she weighed about 300 and something. So she's put on a lot of weight, and she was kind of finicky at first to get her going. But you'll see in a few minutes, if you're on Patreon, that now she's really not that finicky. Okay, make sure I'm able to grab that. Let's do it. Now, the video angle may not be the best. I apologize in advance, but my safety, Kurt's safety, and the safety of the snake far outweigh your viewing angle today. Let's see if she's going to hook as good as she did last time. Come on, baby girl. Don't do that. Oh, I know. You're all world pissed. If she starts getting very bitey, we'll have to tong her. That's not to be mean to her. That's mostly because when she gets really fired up, she'll strike wild and can bite herself, which I really want to try to avoid. And she doesn't stay on the hook when she's doing that. Okay, you ready? Nope. Okay, okay. So in order just to control her better, we'll go to our custom-made tong and a hook at the same time. This is mostly just an effort to keep her from hurting herself. Come on. You're fine. I don't want to get to that one. Come on. Again, something you just kind of take your time with. I need to grease this thing up. That way she can't fall off as easy. And if we do this right, all we have to do now is close this. And we're done. Simple as simple can be, right? And you can see she is still really pissed off, and I need to grease that up a little bit. But she's back in her cage. Looks great in there. She'll be much happier all clean. And what I love about that cage is you hear how much it cuts down the noise. When we first had her in a different cage, we got so many complaints on filming because of the noise of her. Now, I want to say, why do you keep these? Well, we already did a meet our snake video on Reaper. I kind of explained my attraction to venomous snakes. And then, Reaper's still my favorite. I'm not going to lie. Reaper's my favorite venomous snake. And that's because he was my first. He was one that I really was sought after. And when I went down there to do a little herping, and we came across the red one that we took home that is at the shop, and then we were given this one for a breeding project. It was so it was so exciting because of the simple fact that this is a brand new gene to work with. And I'd never really kept westerns that much before. We had a few at the shop, but nothing I'd ever kept at my house. It was kind of a source of contention with Question Girl at first until she got used to it. I did promise no more in the home, so the most I'll ever have in the home is 2. And that's fair, I think. Actually, it's probably more than fair. Let's be honest. Most houses are allowed to have 0, and I get 2, so I'll probably just shut my mouth and be happy. One thing I do love is how different these are. Reaper is so chill for a rattlesnake. Kali is not. Kali, she is not chill at all. You can see right now the classic Western Diamondback posture. The heavy base on the ground, standing up a little bit. She doesn't stand up too tall usually, but she is ready to lash out and defend herself. She's ready to move sideways if she needs to, but she tends to hold her ground. And if I were to approach on that cage right now, she would bite at me. That's just what would happen. The attitude is so vastly different. And one thing I love about Westerns, I talked about timbers. I love them because of, the American history with, going back to our emblem and the "Don't Tread on Me" flag and everything that they were there when the colonists came over. That was the rattlesnake that they were encountering. When you get to this Western Diamondback, boy, it just evokes the Wild West and all the Western movies. I don't know if John Wayne ever came across one on film, but in my head he did. And just, you always have this as that iconic last frontier of America, of the Wild West. The Western Diamondback and the cowboy movies and the sound and all the stories and history of it. So I love the history on both those, and they're both so uniquely American. The timber early on, this is probably the most American modern lore snake that there is. Everybody knows. When they think of rattlesnake, this is the iconic rattlesnake that they think of. The Western. And that just, I love that history connection, and I love the true American connection to them. Rattlesnakes being only found in the Americas, which just, is great. And these guys do actually extend outside the United States. They do extend into Mexico. So to say they're only from America is, you know, Mexico's still part of the Americas, but they're not only from the United States. They do extend over the border. You know, Texas is known for them, Oklahoma is known for them, Arizona. They have such a huge range that they survive everywhere. They're just amazing to me. They even survive here in Kansas. As a matter of fact, if you look, there are museum specimens in Kansas of western diamondbacks being caught in Kansas. There was documented in southeast Kansas of a western diamondback being caught. There's documentation showing western diamondbacks being caught on the southern border, kind of southwestern Kansas, and a few counties and a few miles into Kansas. There's publications from Emporia State University that listed as a native snake to Kansas. Granted, native, but very, very rare. Kind of like the cottonmouth. Cottonmouth is native, but it's only had a handful of specimens ever caught in the state. But when you go just over a border, they're all over the place, and there is a surviving population at Horse Thief Canyon in Lake Canopolis in Kansas. That was, they believe, a released population, because it's not in those areas I talked about, it's just this little pocket where they found some. So, that's kind of what I have on the western diamondback and on Kali, and why I love her. Plus, she's so unique. And I tell you, it's kind of an honor to have something like that in your collection. And we made a world's first in ball pythons with the Shits ball last year, and honestly with the Calypso ball, we need to submit all that stuff in. And we did a few of those things and saw some things that nobody else had seen, and that was cool and that was thrilling. But also, anybody with those two genes can make that snake. You know, it's not hard to do. But this, nobody can make this. Like, the only person who can possibly have a chance at making this right now is us, and having this red. So, as far as I know anyway, and that truly excites me. So, that's why Kali's so special. Little piece of her rattle too, I kept it. She broke off one time. When you deal with a wild-caught snake, like Reaper her, you're going to have that, because you're going to see there's going to be damage from the past, you know, and the links are going to be easier to break and all messed up, and she'll bang them and they'll be more brittle. As she grows in captivity, we won't have as much of that. But one thing about her rattle that I notice is interesting and neat is I don't know if it's just her, if it'll be something that comes from her babies too, but it's bifurcated. So you have one side that's light and one side that's dark. You know, this half the scales are dark, this half the scales are light. It's on both sides like that. I just kind of found that interesting. All right, Kurt, anything else you want to add?
No.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. You got to meet Kali, one of our original 3 blood diamonds. And go check out that Patreon, because we're going to feed her right now, so I didn't put the lock back on.